Everybody's talking about the real estate crash, it's gonna fall, it's gonna come down, interest rates, buyers and everything. I have a complete different point of view. I honestly believe that by looking at data and some trends that we have today, the real estate market is actually never gonna crash for a while. And I'm talking about years. And what I consider a crash I consider something that drops by 25%, not a 5% correction, not a 10% correction. We're talking about crashes. I hate how the people here on YouTube are spreading all this information, negativity, destruction, or hope for some home buyers that want to buy it cheaper, which, by the way, if you're waiting for a crash right now, when a crash will come, the last thing you're gonna do is buy a house because you're gonna be crapping your pants, and I know it already. Anyway, guys, in this video, we're gonna look at current data, some, let's say, of my older opinions that are already released on why I believe the real estate market is not dropping, but then a couple of trends that I'm seeing, which I believe will pump real estate prices even more in the future. So let's get right to it. Welcome here to Yashi. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe, and let's get right into the whole thing. The real estate market today, this is the first part of the whole video. The reason why I believe that real estate is not crashing, and now we're looking at today's data. What is happening? We know that interest rates today are almost three times higher compared to 2 years ago. My old loan is a 2.9% interest rate. Loans today are around 8%, which is nuts. What is happening? What has this affected the real estate market? Yes. Home prices are the lowest that we've ever seen. No, not home prices. Home sales are the lowest we've seen in a while. They dropped by 20, 30, 50% depending on the markets. People are not buying houses. In a normal market, what does this mean? Does it mean that home prices are going down? In a normal market, prices will go down if the supply of houses will be up. The problem is that people are not buying, but nobody's selling. Why? Because 60% of mortgages have a lower than 4% locked-in interest rate, which is extremely low. It is much lower compared to the history of the United States real estate market. Why is that? Because in the past 10 years, we had interest rates by the Federal Reserve close to zero, which led to super cheap mortgages. So if somebody wants to upgrade to a bigger house, it means that they would have to sell their house right now and to find a house, which is hard right now because there's no homes for sale, at a higher interest rate than what they're paying now. So you're selling a house, you're buying a house that is hard to find, and you're paying twice as much or 3 times as much interest rates as you did in the past. Would you buy a house? I don't know. I wouldn't. For me, it's too much. I wouldn't do it. I would just accept what I have right now, wait a little bit, save some money, increase my equity, and maybe buy later if the situation improves. So home sellers are not selling. Most of the homes that are being put on the market are the homes being built by builders. So the amount of new homes compared to used homes that are hitting the market, the percentage of new homes is always higher and higher right now because builders are trying to get rid of the inventory they started in the past 2 years and kind of looking at the situation. So this is the first factor here. At the same time, if you look at home prices, everybody was expecting a 20% correction compared to the all-time high of last year, but home prices are still above 400% on average in America right now. So we're still extremely high with high interest rates. What does this mean? It means that real estate is a very resilient investment, even at interest rates that are high as we see them today. Number 2, construction and demand. I mentioned builders in the first segment of this video on why real estate, I believe, is not going to crash. And this again has to do with supply and demand. In 2022, as interest rates were going up, builders were scared that people would not buy houses anymore. So they trimmed down the permits that were pulling for new projects. So we saw 2021, 2020, builders were building like crazy, even with high construction costs that kept on rising because they were building like crazy. 2022, interest rates go up, builders shit their pants because they have PTSD from 2008. What happens? They're building less. So yes, we're seeing new homes hitting the market, brand new homes, but not at the same pace we saw in the past. And if you look at how many permits they're pulling out today, it ticked a little bit up again, but it's still extremely low compared to 2020, 2019, and 2018. What does this mean? Again, supply and demand. We know that homeowners don't want to sell to upgrade to a new house. And now we know the builders that are right now the responsibles of keeping some supply in the real estate market are not building enough. They were not building enough in the past, but now they're building even less. Why do I say that they were not building enough in the past? Since 2008, where builders were building like crazy and people were buying houses that people did not need. The difference between now and 2008, in 2008, demand was created through marketing. People were saying, buy a house, it's a good investment, it's a good investment. And you had the land mower guy buying 3 homes on interest rates that were crazy and on mortgage, let's say, contracts that sucked with no controls. As soon as people realized, damn, these mortgages suck, everybody tried to sell, and there was a flooding of supply in a market that had demand that was inflated by marketing, not by actual need, and so prices went down. And this is what led then to builders not building for a while, and for the demand of housing through the increase of population to pick up to a point where we are today, where according to the different data sources, we need at least 3 to 6 million homes to satisfy the demand of the rental market and the buyer market. So we need 6 million homes. So let's say that we have 106 people and we only have 100 homes, supposedly that everybody needs a house to live in, and we don't have couples. So we have current homeowners not selling, builders not building enough. The problem of supply and demand is becoming bigger and bigger. So right now interest rates is keeping it pretty stable, but as soon as interest rates come down and people want to buy a house that they need more than they ever did in the past 10 years because of supply and demand, home prices could kick back up at super rates as we saw in 2020 and 2021. But now, onto the main part of all this. I recently saw a video of Patrick Barrett David, which I'm gonna link down here, and if I can also here on the YouTube video, which talked about one of the biggest epidemics that has been happening since 2009, and that has been increased much more during the pandemic, which is the epidemic of solitude. People that are alone, people that are living alone, people that are living in single person households. Basically, the video starts by saying that in 1970 the population was a certain amount, and today the population is 90% higher than 1970. However, the amount of households of people that live alone, so single person households, increased by 400%. So not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 times more than the population of the United States. What does this mean? In the case of supply and demand and the trend we're seeing this, in the past, let's say that we had most of the people in relationships. So if you had 100 people, you had 40 relationships, so 80 people in relationships and 20 people living alone. Or even, let's do this, 90 people in relationships and 10 people living alone. So 45, let's say, relationships and 10 people living alone. At that time, we needed 45 houses for the people in relationships and 10 houses for the people living alone. So although we had 100 people, our demand for housing would have been 45 plus 10, 55. Nowadays, that ratio is much higher. We are now in a position where you have 50 people living alone and 25 relationships. So we started with an amount of demand that was 55. Now the demand is 50 relationships, which is 25 houses, plus 50 single person houses, so 75. And the trend is still becoming worse. Why? He uses the conversation of consumerism that I always use in my TikToks. He also uses the conversation of social media, scrolling all the time, let's say detaching yourself from society more and more and wanting to live alone and becoming socially awkward. He of course makes a beautiful conversation about the social impact of all this, but I'm transferring now to the household impact and how it could affect the real estate market. So we have a trend of rising population, maybe at a slower pace, but we have rising population, builders not building enough, interest rates even high, but because they're high, people don't want to sell their house, so no new supply coming. And on the side of demand, we have a trend of people wanting to live by themselves. So the demand for small single households to buy a house or rent a house will be even higher. And if we had a certain population that in the past we thought, okay, we can split a household for every 2 people. Now the trend is even getting worse because we need a house for every single person because they want to live alone, which means that demand will be inflating even more than what we're seeing today. And I believe this is a little thing that never was mentioned, but definitely affected the real estate prices in the past couple of years. Because I see a lot of single people buying a house. I'm one of them. I bought a house at the age of 24 and I was single. And I bought many more. Now I do it from different purposes. I buy these decrepit homes that nobody wants to buy because they're not livable and make them livable. But the rise in single person household, I believe will definitely have a gigantic impact on the real estate prices of today. And because the trend is growing, the impact will even be stronger in the future. So if you couple all this, the data that we saw today, and this psychological, societal change, which honestly I do not like, but it is happening, you have to acknowledge it. And thank you PBD for the video. I'm gonna put you here again because even if I'm a small account, I just love what you do. I believe that all this will lead to a situation where real estate will be resilient for a long time. And nobody's talking about this other factor. So guys, that's all for now. I hope that you like what I'm doing. Thank you for watching. And if you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe.